All right, guys and gals, this is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Daily Roundup webinar. I hope everybody's having a great trading session. I'll tell you what, it's been a pretty frustrating session for me. I'll tell you the reason why. First and foremost, I was short the dollar yen today. And when we broke lower, I was like, oh man, great, we're gonna break the 104. Oh, I ripped back up to 104.30, and I sat there and said, what do I want to do here? And then when it looked like, okay, that was a false breakdown, it looks like we're going to break out. And if you guys have ForexAnalytix, you probably saw the analysis. I was like, oh crap, this thing's going to break above 50. So I closed out my short, which is frustrating because I gave away a lot of profits there. So that's one. Second is, we had this Aussie, and let me go before we get to this red candle here. Aussie looked like it was making a false breakdown. I picked up some Aussie on the long side because I'm like, okay, we cleared that support and we're back above it. And lo and behold, we dropped back towards 70. Now my stops are below 70. I'm definitely not out of the woods. It could break right back below 70 here. But it is a little frustrating because I'm like, man, it's holding, but it's not holding very well. And that's probably because the euro is trading extremely heavy. I picked up a little bit of euro about 10 pips ago. I'm not super happy with that either, but I was at the 78% retracement. But here's let me give you my thought process, and then kind of go from there. The S&P, we just did and you can see it here. We hit a new low, divergent relative strength, right? We hit a new low, divergent relative strength, 88% retracement of the current range. So here's your 4 hour. And now the market's bouncing a little bit. I do expect the market to bounce a little higher here, and that should keep the dollar pressured. The dollar should stall around this 94 level, which is resistance. You guys know it's resistance, especially if you're looking at the bias chart. We're right up here against the range highs. So I think the S&P is going to bounce a little bit, and the reason why I'm thinking this, and we were just having the discussion over the last 30 minutes or so. Excuse me, there's a street cleaner coming, of course.
The comments from US High Speaker. He currently speaks
like a street cleaner comes once every month, and it comes right when I'm speaking, and I have the window open. I don't know if you could hear it, but anyway, of course, what timing. Going back to what I was saying, if the market does indeed believe there's going to be a blue wave, that means Biden wins, Democrats take the House and Senate, then we're going to get this massive stimulus, infrastructure spending, all sorts of yeehaw. Well, actually, equity should be higher because of that. And if we do get a blue wave, we will be higher. We'll probably be, we'll probably trade from 3,300 here to 3,500, 34, 3,500. I mean, we're going to trade up a couple hundred handles is what's probably going to happen. And if you really believe that that's what's happening in the market, you're probably thinking, okay, I need to get long down here, at this support. Or, worst case scenario, or the flip side to that is if you're short, you're probably thinking, okay, maybe I need to cover up some shorts here just in case. So going, as I said, I'll go back to like Monday or Tuesday and of last week, or of this week's, sorry. We were up here and I said, hey, over the course of the next week, we're probably going to drift lower. We have, okay. So we drifted lower, and actually we felt a little bit more aggressively than I thought. But I also mentioned it. I don't think it was going to be a straight line lower, and now that we've gone down, I wouldn't be surprised if we bounce back and we get what you often hear me say when there's a big event. Okay, let me be clear here in saying this. When there's a big event, and maybe some of you guys can answer this. When there's a big event, what do you think happens before a big event? What do you guys think? What happens? Right. Jane, she said rally. No, we go mid-range. So if this is a 4-hour chart of the S&P, I bet you by the time we get to Tuesday, we're going to be right about here, somewhere in this area, right? Because if today's low was the tradable low, which I think it was, that means we're going to go mid-range. And if we go mid-range, we are going to be trading around 3,400 in the S&P. So, think about this logically from a trader's point of view. Yeah, if you're short, you're going, man, I don't know. Biden's he's got it. He's got that. He still has the pretty good margin here. He may not win, but I don't know if I'm willing to take the risk down here and be short down at these levels. And then if you're like, oh, Trump's going to win, but or I'm just let me go back. I'm sorry. Yeah, if you think Trump's going to win, but you're still going, okay, well, maybe Biden still has a pretty good lead. I don't want to be short here. I'm going to start covering up. Or if you're like, okay, I knew there was going to be a pullback, but if we get a blue wave, this market's going to go higher. I probably want to be long some down here. So I think we're going to go back to mid-range. I think over the course of today's Thursday, tomorrow's Friday, and I know you're thinking, Blake, good job. Your days of the week, but the election's Tuesday. So I think over the course of the next couple of days, I wouldn't be surprised if we bounce right back towards 3,400 and then we figure it out, because then from there to Tuesday night, blue wave, boom, Trump win, boom, and then we'll have to figure it out once we go mid-range. But I believe the market will go mid-range. And what does that mean for currencies? Well, that means that the dollar index that's up at 94 is probably doing this. Now, follow me. The dollar is probably going to head back there. So I would think that the dollar does one of these over the course of the next couple of days, and we drift back down to 93 and a half. So then you have to think about where does that put your currencies? Well, that puts the euro and the euro's trading really heavy following the ECB. Yeah, I know that it's heavy now, but that probably puts the euro back at 117.20, 117.30. The Aussie dollar probably back towards 71 cents. The Kiwi was trading pretty heavy here, but probably back towards 66.50, something like that. So I guess the point is if you're long dollars, be careful. If you're short the stock market, be careful. Because I think we go mid-range ahead of the election, and then figure out where we're going to go from there. Obviously, Tuesday is a big day. So, with all that being said, I want to say that I spent some time last night writing out a blog, and I'll just give you guys a little view of my blog that I wrote last night. It's a big one. It's a biggie. Okay. So this is my blog, and it goes on and on and on. I'm writing it. I still have to clean it up, and we've got charts that we're going to be adding. We're obviously adding some charts to the dollar index, gold, and the S&P. Okay. So be on the lookout for this blog, and especially those of you guys that are Europeans, because if you're Europeans, or I say you're all Europeans, if you're outside of the United States, it might give you a better, easier layman's point of view of the election and some possible outcomes and what we can look for in, the S&P, the dollar index, and gold. Obviously, there's a lot more asset classes, and if you want to know what's happening with specific currencies, you just stay in the chat room or be on the Face webinar, or throughout the election, you'll get my point of view from there. But I can't just write it all out with a blog and all the different charts, and we're just sticking with 3 asset classes, and then going to give you some charts that correspond with those. But I think it's going to be a good layman's point of view, because I'm a simple person. I'm not, you guys know I'm no statistician. I just, I look at the charts, and I'll give you a good broad based brush overview of what I think that's going to happen. But I will say this, and I'm going to say this slowly, and I'm going to say it carefully before I go. Please be careful over the next couple of days. Volatility is going to be high. Liquidity is probably going to get kind of thin or poor over the course of the next couple of days. So don't be too aggressive in what you're doing. Just be a little careful out there. I don't want you guys to get hurt. I want you guys to keep your heads above water, especially going into Tuesday, where things might, volatility could very easily become quite explosive. So anyway, with that being said, Amira says, we from Israel, not Iroba. What? I don't know. I don't know what you're saying, Amira. But anyway, if you're in Israel, cool. But yeah, again, if being in outside the U.S., this is going to be my point of view. It's not a political opinion piece. It's more of, okay, if Trump wins, this is what we would think would happen. If Biden wins, this is what we think would happen. Watch the House, the Senate. Here's a couple of key states, if you're watching the news, to keep an eye on that might give you some clues. And these are what the asset classes we're going to be paying attention to. So that's really what the blog's all about. All right, guys and gals. Hey, thank you for all the support. I appreciate each and every one of you for always being here and participating. And for those of you that are, Giuseppe says, very interesting. I'm from Italy, and you do not even imagine how major stream news media are describing the American elections. The point is, they hit Trump presidency as bad as they can. Yeah, I mean, they do. So my opinion is the race is a lot closer than people think. And that means there's going to be some risk out there. All right, guys. Hey, thank you much. Have a great one, and I'll talk to you in the chat rooms or tomorrow morning on Face. Thanks.